Welcome back. Hopefully most of you who are watching this have seen the video on the 27 times table and the first major knock. The second lock, let me cycle this back. So the 27 times table gave us the first knot. So when I found out that the 27 fitted into the 360 degree cycle at the 1080 degrees point, where we've done three full rotations of 360 degree cycles. So the next question that jumped into mind, okay, that's the 27, so but when does 54, when does that enter into the cycle of 360? And the answer, slightly disappointingly, is I don't get rid of that. We don't need the different models of spirituality hanging at the top. So the answer to that is the same. It's 1080. 1080 divided by 54 equals 20, and we know that this is 3 full cycles, so this goes in 20 times. So my first reaction was a bit like, okay, for me almost doesn't make sense, but when does 54 next go into the 360 degree cycle? And the answer for that was 2106 degrees, and that divided by 54 equaled 40. So I kind of decided that that was kind of significant as well, and so I brought up the 54 times table and I put that slide up on the screen, and what you can see from that is that I've gone from the 20th term to the 41st term on this slide, and that is because the first 20 terms of the 54 times table we've already seen through the 27 times table. So it's just every other number of the 27 times table is the 54 times table. So 54 is the second term of the 27 times table, 108 is the fourth term, and so on, up until the 20th term, which is 1080, as you see there on the slide. We can do the same as what we did last time. So if we take a couple of terms from the 54 times table, let's take the 24th term, which is 1296, and let's take the 29th term, which is 1566. So I've chosen these because, I don't know, for example, I mean, the first thing I think of there is if I added the 1 and the 2, then I get a 369, but that's all numbers from the same grouping. So I mean, the conversion or the transformation of these numbers is not always clear. For example, if I take the 1, 5 together and I add them together, then I get 666, also 3 numbers from the 369 group, whereas if I add the 6 and 6 together, then I get 12, which breaks down to be a 3, and then you got the 315 and you got the 315 here, which is represented here. Similarly there, if I take the 9 and 6 together, add those two together, then they give me 15, which comes down to a 6, and I've got the 1, 2, 6, which is the 1, 2 and 6 here. So it depends how you work with them, but in some way all the numbers, even though they're now 4-digit numbers, and some of them are much more obvious than others, but they're all 4-digit numbers, but they can still be reduced back to these number groups and eventually to the single number group of the 936, and eventually all the way back to the 9. It's generations from the 9 to the 936 to these number groupings for 3 numbers, and then for the 4, when it becomes 4 numbers, then you have to start to transform numbers by adding different numbers together. Obviously that's not true of all 4 number figures, but it's true of all 4 number figures that are represented in the 54 times table or the 81 times table, and as we'll see at a later date, the 63 times table as well. Now let's have a look at the key numbers. So 37 times 54 does not equal 999. It equals 1998. Okay, and obviously with a little bit of alchemical transformation we can add the 1 and the 8 to give us back to the 999. So in some way this 1998 is very similar to 999, and this guy here is the second knot. Now again, let's switch out the 27 for the 54, and then we lose the 1080 HD, except we don't lose 1080 HD, we actually expand 1080 HD because we're now in 2106 degrees. So this is 6 full cycles, so we've gone around a celestial year 6 times. And this is once again when we come back into the full cycle. I'll cover it in a moment, but again, so this becomes 54, and the 36th term, so this is just before, one number before the knot, which is where the key is hanging at our gate, and the number of the 36th term is 1944. So again, to convert this, the 1 and the 9, if we added the 2 4s together, we'd get an 8 there. So again, 198, 198. Or another possible transformation of this figure for me is to add the 1, the 9 and the 4 together, which give us 14, which equals 5. So give us a 5 and a 4. And the 5 and the 4 are the heart chakra. And this is the key for the second lock. So we move through the first lock, which is the 27 times table, giving us the 999. And then as energy does start to come back down, as I said, it's not immediate that we fall into the celestial cycle. We have to wait for the 38th and 39th terms to pass. And this is a process of just staying with the process when there's a certain uncertainty energetically of what may be happening within. But if we do manage to stay with the process at that point, then the head comes out and we have our first moment of 1080 HD. After being with this experience of being in the full cycle for a period of time, then obviously we can lose the intensity of practice at that space and lose that start of birth, if you like. Or we can realize that, okay, the head's out, but now it's time to take the next step. And at that stage, we realize that we're at the second lock, because actually this energetic membrane that we've pushed our way through is locked, is blocked at the shoulders. So the sphincter has to open one more time, or not one more time, but has to open again to enable the shoulders to be birthed. And what is the key to this? The key to this is the heart. So when we place the attention, we could look at placing attention at the base chakra, symbolized by the 1, the 9 symbolized by the full energetic chakra column, and the 4 is the heart chakra, 1 2 3 4. So, but altogether, when we round these up, we can also get the 5 and 4, depending on how we transform it. But also, just simply from experience, the place to place attention at this moment is the base chakra, the heart chakra and potentially the crown as well, or an awareness of the full chakra system. But the focus is this double 4. It's the heart. That's really where attention needs to be. Although it needs to be grounded at the base chakra as well, and that's what will help draw the energy down. And when we are able to use this key, that helps to push us through this 37th term, the 1998. We then traverse through the lock and we start to open here, and the energy starts to move down, but we're not at the 40th term, we're not at the full cycle of 2106, the 6th full cycle where 54 also enters fully into the celestial cycle. We have to pass through the 38th and the 39th numbers, which is a process of staying with the practice, and then finally we drop into another moment of deep presence and awareness, another moment of really being clear and present. And now we can sense it, that the body is really free and present, the upper body. And like any birth, we birth out the shoulders, the head first, and then the shoulders, and then once again there can be at the waist, there can be a little contraction of the sphincter, the contraction back, there can be a little rest, and this is when we're really in the presence of the next celestial cycle. But then once again, to pass the hips, the sphincter is going to need to open again, and this is when we're going to encounter the third knot. So the third knot is the 81, and that's going to be on the 81 times table. I mean, you've got to also remember that when we're working with the magic grid, that this whole process came out of the tables of 1 to 8, that we've unpackaged a lot of this theory. And so we've done those tables, and now we're getting information from these other times tables, the 27, the 54 and the 81. We can transform these numbers now, take away the black numbers, because the first time that the 81 falls into the once you get a pattern for this in maths, you know, these things just keep repeating. So the first time that the 81 goes into the 360 degree cycle is 3240. Those of you sort of following the book, you'll know this number 324 as a really key number throughout the teaching. But when we get to this amount of degrees going round and round a 360 circle, that means we've now done, this is 9 times, it's 9 times 360 is 3240. And the 37th term, so 37 times 81 is 2997. So again, we're still working with the 9, and these two together give you the last 9. So this is the lock, the block, the gate, and the key is hanging on the doorpost, which is 2916. So, which is 81 less than this number here, obviously. This is the key, this is the lock, this is the transition, and then this is entering into the full cycle. The lock here is representing, if we just look at all the numbers and look at the chakras, how they correspond, because there is always a sense of awareness of the 9 internal chakras, but the 2 means that we're here at the crown as part of our awareness of those 9 chakras. The 1 is at the base, so it's fully there, and the palate is the 6th chakra. So it's a real sense of the full chakra system now, because this is the end of birthing as the full torso comes out. In a real birth scenario, the legs are easy, but in a spiritual rebirth sense, then the significance is that the full torso, the full chakra system emerges out, and then we move into cycles of energy, which is what we've seen through these turning cycles here as well. So crown, full chakra awareness, significance on the base and the palate chakra, and that expands us out and brings out the full torso, and there'll be a transition period through the 38th and 39th terms before we enter into the celestial cycle at the 40th term, 3240 degrees. So it's not very common yogic philosophy, but it is there in certain schools of thought that there are 9 chakras, that there are gates to pass through, and in the system of gates the most common pattern is these three gates, plus there's the great heart knot. So although we can be very present and have an experience of this 1080 high definition awareness, I think there's some high definition of 216 or something. I need to check that out again. So once we have this experience, we can be present in a way that we've never experienced before, but we won't be able to stay and rest in that space of presence until the great heart knot opens. And the great heart knot is symbolized by the number 63, and that's the times table that we'll look at next. So come back for the heart knot. Thanks for watching.